Victorian era and the modern era. Two radically different periods reflected by their radically different art. First of all, in Victorian times, there's an encouraged unquestioning belief and faith in authority. You're not expected to question those who are socially above you, and you are not supposed to question why things were the way they were. You had to accept your duty and do it to the best of your ability. Modernism completely flipped out on the head by looking into why things were the way they were and how simply accepting that blindly led to great abuse of that system. Also called into question the merit of ideas such as nobility and hereditary inheritance. Next, we have nationalism and colonialism. If you were a European, you were expected to support your country's colonial efforts and national identity. It was simply a fact. Like, they cheered for colonialism much in the same way, you might cheer for a sports team. Even if you're not a big fan, you're expected to support it because it's your country doing it, and you're bringing more glory to your nation and turning it into an empire. Modernism, on the other hand, goes in the opposite route and explains how imperialism and colonialism were incredibly harmful to the native peoples of the conquered lands, as well as exploring how it never really improved the livelihoods of anyone in the European nations. It brought in wealth, but that wealth never went down to the very poor, as was sometimes expected. And the modernists, whereas the Victorians saw the inhabitants of the lands they conquered as mere primitives who were to be ruled by a superior people, the modernists saw the natives as people within their own right, in which it was simply stupidity to judge them by European standards because they weren't European. They were their own thing. And so, many of them got into the art forms of those people. The sculptures of the Aztec and Mayans became the models for many artists, and they also experimented with African and Asian styles. And as said earlier, you were expected to not question the way society functioned, and part of that was the rigidity in which the society existed. There were so many formal systems and methods for people to treat each other. You couldn't be casual. You just had to be respectful at all times and hope that you followed the rules well enough. And I think part of it was they thought that by doing so it made things more predictable, but you can't change the way people are just by the way they act. Modernism, on the other hand, embraced the idea of, loose and informal social structures and forms of communication. Instead of having to address someone by a title, you just address them by their name. First name if you're really close. But beyond that, nothing truly. Then we come to one of the big differences, the way both eras and schools of thought saw women. Victorian thought viewed women as, yeah, they're here and they're supposed to be waiting with a dinner for us when we get back home. They're supposed to raise kids and keep the house clean. They didn't really see women as potential members of society. Modernism, however, to varying degrees, saw women as more than that. Many felt that women should have equal protections under the law, and many advocated women's involvement in politics and government, supporting the suffrage movement, and moving women away from a kitchen to a desk by giving them employment opportunities. And from this, we also saw a lot more tolerance of other cultures. If you weren't following the culture of the European nation where you lived, you were thought of as an outsider. But with modernism, people became more accepting of cultures that weren't theirs, even underground cultures such as homosexuality, and etc. I hope you find this video educational, and good luck to you guys in your quarantine.